So let's check out the new Jimmy Choo. This one is Jimmy Choo Man Aqua. So I really do like the line here, and particularly Jimmy Choo Man Ice. It's a really, really good one. Those who are unaware, it's kind of a Dior Homme Cologne, heavily inspired scent, or just a straight up clone of Dior Homme Cologne, and it comes in at a fraction of the price. On discounters, typically the Jimmy Choo fragrances will run $25, $30 for 100 ml, maybe sometimes a bit more. The Dior, that Ice smells similar to, usually 100 plus. And that's kind of the main one. It's the most popular one that does get tossed around, especially when summer starts to move in. And so to see a new release here is pretty cool. I would say that Jimmy Choo isn't a brand that a lot of people get super hyped up for when a new fragrance comes out. But of course, you guys know I'm gonna pick it up and check it out, and we're gonna see what it's all about. One thing that they did do here is you get a sleeve for the box. So that's pretty cool. The bottle does have an aqua look to it. So let's go ahead and open this one up and we'll see what it's all about. Okay, so here we go. Jimmy Choo Man Aqua. Not too much going on with the bottle. It's your typical Jimmy Choo, just clear glass with a blue tint to it. The coloration of the fragrance itself does appear to be just clear. The bottle is what is giving off that color. The cap does have a texture to it, and that texture matches that of the texture on the box. So that's a cool little detail. It's a 100 milliliter bottle. It's an eau de toilette, pretty bare bones here. Cap does clip into place, or click into place rather. From what I remember, the atomizers, yeah, the atomizers are good on these. Nice pressurized, you can control the amount that comes out. So let's go ahead and give this one a shot. So opens up familiar for sure right away, and I already know what it's familiar to. Immediately, it's got a little bit of a YSLY smell to it. It really does. Kind of that bubblegummy, fresh, but also sweetness. It's got some of that going on. You know, that's kind of the next big trend. We've seen it with Calvin Klein Defy most recently. Now, one thing I do want to say is that while you do pick up on that right away, who knows how this one is going to dry down to? That's where a full review will come in handy. For example, with that Calvin Klein, it opens up with that YSLY, EDP type of smell, but it dries down being very vetiver heavy, and it really takes a different turn. So while this one is opening up very similar to fragrances in that category, we'll have to give it some time. But, you know, it does have that kind of fruity top note. It's got that sweet undertone and that aromatic mid, that kind of magical combination here that brands are really seeming to like to use here, and that's what it has going on. So we'll take a look at the note breakdown here. We have cardamom and grapefruit up top. We have sea notes or sea water and clary sage in the mid. So there's that clary sage, patchouli, and moss in the base. So 6 notes, right? Pretty simple, not anything that's standing out. Again, going back to Calvin Klein Defy, it's got that vetiver note, and of course they can throw notes in there and you may not even smell it, but in the case of that fragrance, the vetiver makes it different, makes it stand out. So I'm hoping that we'll get something a little bit different here in the dry down of this one to kind of give it that excitement. Now, with that being said, one place where this one will come in handy is the price point. It just launched. Your only option is full retail right now. Paying full retail for this one isn't going to make a whole lot of sense when you can spend just a little bit more and get YSLY, EDP, or even the new Parfum for that matter. Those are both at discounters, even the Parfum, and so just do that, okay? Don't buy this one at full retail right now. That's my opinion. Maybe you really want it. That's okay, of course, as well. But where I do see this one doing well is that discounted gray market price. As soon as this one falls down to the typical Jimmy Choo pricing, again, 30, 35, 100 mil, I think it's going to be a nice pickup, especially because it's really kind of coming off similar to that kind of blue fragrance DNA, the YSL blue fragrance DNA there. You know, it's not swaying a whole lot from that. You know, you could say the same with the Calvin Klein, but again, that one does go different in the dry down. And still, it's kind of around $50, $55, $60 currently for 100 mil. That's definitely not your typical cheapy Calvin Klein price. So, you know, this one here is going to be a really nice budget-friendly fragrance at some point for those who want YSLY, EDP, EDT, parfum even at a fraction of the price. Of course, we're just not there yet. Now, that being said, talking about the differences here, I am actually picking up on some of that cardamom. And even though it's a top note, immediately when I first sprayed it, I didn't notice the cardamom. I was immediately overwhelmed with that clary sage, aquatic note combination with that sweetness, and I knew what it was right off the bat. But now as everything is kind of having a little bit of time to settle down and come together, that's where I'm getting some of that cardamom, giving it more of a warm spiciness. So the sweetness, I don't think is coming from the cardamom. It's not that type of sweetness. It's a bubble gumminess. But the cardamom giving off that warm spice, that's something a little bit different here. Still getting a good amount of that clary sage, just the aromatic mid, that this DNA has. Patchouli, hints of it. It's not too strong. It's not too earthy. It's not too green either. It's just kind of giving it a little bit more of a woody aromatic support, I suppose. Now you've got that oak moss in the base as well, also giving off just this kind of masculine smell, almost in a way kind of a modern masculine muskiness. It's kind of also what's coming through in the base, and some of that could be from that oak moss. You take a look at some of the very popular men's fragrances out there that have this, I don't know, kind of modern muskiness, this kind of just cologne smell. You take a look at a lot of those, a lot of them contain a good amount of oak moss. It just kind of gives it this aromatic but slightly green but musky but woody, just kind of masculine texture. And so you do get some of that. I actually really like oak moss in fragrances when it's used in this way. So again, cardamom is right there as well, and that's kind of what's throwing this one off and making it a little bit different. We're not even 10 minutes in. It hasn't changed a whole lot. Again, going back to something like Calvin Klein Defy, another fragrance that's similar. It took a while to get into that dry down and to see the big change. So maybe that'll happen here. Now, of course, I'm a big fan of the YSLY, EDP, EDT, DNA. And so from a scent perspective, of course, I'm going to like this one because it is similar. There's no denying that. It would be, strange for me to really like YSLY EDP, but then just come on the video and say I hate this. That's not how I do things. I go off of smell first. But again, I also like to acknowledge the fact that for a bit more at full retail, you can get YSLY EDP, and that would be the way to go, or the Parfum, or even the EDT, right? Talking about price and quality and designer brand, go that direction. But once this one hits discounters, that changes the narrative a little bit, because you go from spending $100, a little over $100 a lot of times, 114 or so for 100 mil, to at some point paying 35, maybe 40. That's a game changer for a lot of people. So talking about this one in the future when it is at that price, if I take a look at this one, analyze it as a $35, $40 fragrance, I think it's really good. The quality is great. It's smooth. There's nothing about it that is off-putting or harsh or anything like that. It's silky smooth. It really is. Performance, of course, we're going to have to test. I'm not too sure about that. There went the cap. But, I think it'll be decent. And again, at that price point later on down the road, you can overspray it, apply a good amount, and you're not going to be feeling like you're just wasting a bunch of money. So I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap this one up here. My final thoughts, if you like this DNA and at some point you want a cheap alternative to YSLY EDP, and again, I'm saying at some point later on down the road when it does hit discounters and the price comes down, this is going to be a good option. But as it sits right now at full retail, I would just wait. If you're wanting to get YSLY EDP or something along those lines, that DNA, get that. Wait on this. But I'm glad that I do have this one, though. It's one of those things where if I'm just going to run out for a couple hours, or I know I'm going to take a shower soon and I just want to throw something on that's going to be inexpensive, this is the type of thing that I would choose. Of course, I paid full retail for it, but I know I could always purchase it again down the road for a cheaper price. I've got enough fragrances anyway. So it's kind of cool to have something that is just, going to be kind of lower tier in your collection that you can just kind of use as a beater fragrance. Just kind of throw it on, and if you're going to wash it off in a couple hours, who cares? I will link this one down below if you are interested, and along with YSLY, EDP, Parfum, all of those at the best price. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.